So now leaving the SIP and going towards the DNS protocol to see exactly what's happening. So here we can see the proxy CSF is sending towards the DNS 3 successive requests. The first one, then the second one, and then the third request, and is receiving 3 successive also responses. And why they are successive? That because the value received in the first response is being used in the second request, and the value received in the second response is being used in the third request. Okay, so at the end of the day, the domain is being sent in the first request, and the IP address is being retrieved in the third response. So first, the NAPTR query is a query that resolves the domain into other domains, or a host name to other host names. And then the SRV query is a query that resolves the host name or the domain to port and priority and weight. And then the last ones, which is the A query, resolve to IP address. So let's understand that practically in the traces. Starting now in the trace, we can see here the first request. The proxy CSF is sending to the DNS this NAPTR query request. And to know that each request and response and its response have what's called by a transaction ID. So if you want to filter on this only, you can apply here, apply as filter, and then press selected. So you will see only this request and its response. And why do we need something like this? Because when you are checking DNS requests, you will see a large number of requests and responses when you are taking a live trace on live network. So it's not easy. So you need to filter on that transaction ID. Okay, but here it's okay. We have only 3 requests and responses. So this request, we can see here the NAPTR query, what's being sent. So the domain, which domain is being sent, yeah, in the query, here it is. And if we remember, this is the domain that was present inside the URI that was sent from the handset here. Yeah, this is the same one. Okay, so this is the first thing in the request. So now checking the answer here, we can see there are 2 responses from the DNS. And the first response, what we find inside it, it's present in the replacement part. So here it is. This is a replacement, TCP SIP, and the other replacement will be, we can see here, UDP SIP. So let's now put like something like the configuration inside the DNS database. So we had this NAPTR query, this host or this domain, and it was reverted back. Have 2 definitions inside it, TCP SIP and UDP SIP. That is the response for this host. Yeah, okay. So let's move with the NAPTR and to understand everything at the end, why it's present like this. So the proxy CSF will choose one between them based on the preference. So there is a preference or priority that's present, and the preference here was for the UDP. So here is the UDP request or the query being sent from the proxy CSF to the DNS, and now we are starting the SRV record. And this is the most complicated ones, because honestly the NAPTR is easy one, and the A is also easy. It's referred back by the IP, but the SRV need some focus. So the query here, we can see it, the SRV query, we can see that we used the host of the UDP SIP. And when we look at the response, we need to check it in details. So first of all, we have how many responses? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 responses we have. And inside each response, we can look, we will find this is a target, ICSF lab 1. So yeah, now we are speaking about the sites we have. So we have the first response with lab 1 and the second response with lab 2 and the third response with lab 3. So let's continue first, and then we will analyze this SRV record. So the target that was received, which was ICSF lab 1, the first one, we used it, and we will also understand that later why we used this response specifically. So as a result, when this query is being sent, we received back in the response the IP for the ICSF. Yeah, here's it, 10.0.230.159. So yeah, we can go back in the register request and check this in the ICSF IP and go here and look the destination address. So we'll find the 10.0.230.159. Yeah, so we understood the concept at least. But now let's go back to the SRV and understand how the mapping has occurred inside the DNS, how we were able to map all the sites.